Come, come, whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter your gender, whom you love, how you speak, or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. No matter what you've experienced in the past, no matter what awaits you in the future, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God all of the time, some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. This is a community of open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Tom, and I am a middle-sized, average-looking guy with a very bright shirt and absurdly yellow socks today. I want to just point out that this is our service closest to the equinox, so happy equinox, everybody. Yay! The seasons keep changing, and I don't know, we actually just got like a little cloud cover so you can't see it, but our light beam is usually passing right along here, and it's in the middle spot right now, right? Because it's the equinox, so we'll keep watching it get more and more annoying as it gets onto the middle spot here. Let's see, I want to give just a minute during our announcements to Naomi. Is Naomi here and ready to come up and give her announcement? Thank you, Naomi.
Hello. I'm Naomi Lane. My pronouns are she and her, and I am a middle-sized woman wearing a white sweater, black pants, and a t-shirt that says, "Privilege is when you think something isn't a problem because it doesn't affect you personally." So I'm here today to announce the launch of our BIPOC Caucus, which is just a community group for those who identify as Black, Indigenous, or people of color, and just an opportunity to have a space where we can chat, get to know each other a little bit more, and build a little bit of community within the community of the church itself. So our first meeting will be a lunch after church on May 4th, Star Wars Day. And we're going to have lunch, we're going to have some conversation and discussion and learn a little bit more about one another and about the church as well. So there's a QR code up here, getting fancy. And that is a send me more information or RSVP link. So it's not a commitment, just an indication of interest. So if you identify as a BIPOC person, you are welcome to join us. We would love to have you. It's going to be hosted by myself and Kim Adams, so you can talk to either of us if you want more information. And if you have friends or family members who might potentially be interested, feel free to grab that link and send it to them and invite them to come and join us. So we'll be downstairs after church on May 4th, and then this information will also be in the happenings. And if you're like me, for about a good 6 months after I started coming here, I didn't know what the happenings were that people kept talking about. So it's an email newsletter, if you don't know, that goes out about once a week, that gives people information about what's going on in the church, different volunteer opportunities, things you might want to attend, social, activities, and so forth. And you can sign up for that on the church website, or if you want to talk to me after service, I'm happy to forward it to you. Susan Izagiri did that for me, and so I'm going to pass that on if anyone needs that. So, BIPOC Caucus, please feel free to join or forward that invitation to anybody who fits that category. Thank you.
Please stand if you're willing and able. Hymn number 94. Hymn number 94. What is this life?
Beneath the boughs and stare as long one of those moments where we're going to sit down and then stand back up. So be seated for just a minute. And thank you all for soldiering through that song. I picked that one. So thank you for being good sports today. I would like to offer you a call to worship this morning. Well, hang on. Before we do that, you should probably know who I am. My name is Caitlin. My pronouns are she and her. I am a middle-height, pale-skinned, 30-something woman with a blue shirt, a penguin shirt, and jeans today. And it is my privilege to be your worship leader today. Our beloved Reverend Laura has the day off today. I also want to take just a minute and acknowledge everybody. You've already met Tom. We also have a fantastic AV team in the back. We also have an amazing music team here in the front. And this is not possible without absolutely everybody pitching in. I also want to take a moment and greet everybody at home. If you want to turn around and wave. Good morning, folks at home. We're so glad you found us, too. Okay, now time for our call to worship. I have one of my favorite poems for you today. This is On the Ning Nang Nong, and it's by Spike Milligan. On the Ning Nang Nong, all the cows go bong, and the monkeys all say boo. On the Nong Nang Ning, all the trees go ping, and the teapots jibber jabber do. On the Nong Ning Nang, all the mice go clang, and you just can't catch them when they do. So it's Ning Nang Nong, cows go bong. Nong Nang Ning, trees go ping. Nong Ning Nang, mice go clang. What a noisy place to belong is the Ning Nang Ning Nang Nong. And on that note, we're going to light our chalice. I'm going to invite Max up to light it. And if you would stand as you are willing and able and feel like it. And say our chalice lighting words with me. They are on the screen. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, and for the energy of action. Thank you, Max. You may be seated. And I'm going to, well, except if you are young or young at heart.
So, today for our Time for All Ages, guys, I'm going to tell you the story of Sisyphus. Has anybody ever heard of Sisyphus? There you go. You already know the most important part of the story, but let me start at the beginning. So, Sisyphus was a king, okay? He was the king of a random little city in ancient Greece. And of course, this is just a legend, so who knows if he was really actually even a person. But anyway, Sisyphus was a king. And during his life, he did a few things to anger the gods. You have to remember, this is during the ancient Greek era, right? So they believed in a god named Zeus and Ares and Poseidon, Hera, Demeter. Oh my gosh, you guys know? Yes, exactly. Good job, exactly. So at the time, it was a little different. Like nowadays, if you say that you anger the gods, I think a lot of people might think that you do something morally wrong, that you don't have virtue. But in this case, back in the ancient Greeks, you anger the gods by just doing things that those individual gods don't like, right? So in this case, and I'm just going to tell the story super briefly, but Sisyphus, through a twisted set of events, ended up ending death. Like nobody could die anymore because he tricked, I think it's a guy named Tartarus or something like that. He put him in chains, whatever it was. Anyway, and all of a sudden, nobody could die anymore. Is that right? Do you remember? I got it wrong. Is it Thanatos? Okay. All right, I'll trust you on that one. Honestly, I didn't memorize all the names. The names get all mixed up in my brain. But anyway, he ended death for a while. And guess which god this made really angry? Hades! That's actually a better guess than the true story. Anyway, in the story, he made Ares really angry because Ares is the god of war. And, what's the fun of having war if nobody dies, right? I mean, you got to have, so. Anyway, for whatever reason, whether it makes sense or not is not really the point. But Ares got really angry, okay? And so Ares was super angry at Sisyphus. And then at a totally different time, Sisyphus made Zeus really angry by basically tattling on Zeus. I don't know if you guys have heard this about Zeus, but the stories are he liked to go around and, date lots of mortal women, okay? And he basically got Zeus in trouble by revealing who Zeus was trying to date to that person's father. Anyway, so he made Zeus really angry too by basically tattling on Zeus, okay? Okay, anyway, so when Sisyphus dies, Zeus and Ares and the other gods got together and they're like, we are super angry at this guy. We're gonna give him the worst punishment we can possibly think of. You would think it would be like Tartarus or hell or some other whatever, but no, it was already been said, right? They came up with this punishment, which was to force him to roll a giant stone up a mountain over and over. And as soon as he gets to the top, it just, every time it's the same, the rock gets loose and rolls all the way down, and he has to walk down the mountain and start over and push it up again. And he's, in theory, it's for eternity, right? So he's still over there doing this, I guess.
No, every time he rolls up the mountain, there's another mountain that's the exact same.
Oh, well,
But he
there you go.
doesn't know that because he actually teleported down to the bottom along with this stone.
Wow. I think you have just riffed on this story in a new and interesting way. We should probably publish your version of it, honestly. But the point is, how would you guys feel if you had to do that? If you were forced to roll this giant stone up the mountain and then just do it again and do it again? Would it feel kind of pointless? I don't know. What do you think?
Eventually it would become easier because
When did he stop? Well, like I say, the legend says he never stopped. What?
Golden rule of Greek mythology, never insult the gods.
Thank you. Never insult the gods. That's a good lesson to learn.
eventually it'll get easier because one, he gets stronger.
Ah.
And two, the mountain eventually becomes less steep because of
You like erosion? Man, I'm telling you, you are making this story better. I love it. Yeah.
all that
It's Hades' revenge. That's right. Okay, now I want you guys, we're going to do a little exercise, literally, a little exercise. Okay, you guys are going to experience what it's like to be Sisyphus. Now, we don't have a giant rock and a giant mountain, so instead, you're going to take your cushion. Okay? Everybody stand up. Anybody can join us if they want to, if you really want. Just pretend like you have a cushion. Anyway, in my head, I'm gonna count to just like 20 seconds or so, okay? But until I say stop, you have to just repeat. I want you to touch it to the sky, and then touch it all the way to the ground. And then touch it to the sky. Keep going. Everybody stretch it up there. Touch it to the ground. Touch it to the sky. Touch it to the ground. Keep going. Is it starting to feel repetitive? Touch it to the sky. Touch it all the way to the ground. Is anybody sweating yet? I'm starting. Okay. Touch it to the ground. Touch it to the sky. Touch it to the ground. Touch it to the sky. Touch it to the ground. Okay, that's enough. You guys can sit down. I'm not as bad as the gods. I won't make you do it literally forever. How do you guys feel? Isaac?
I probably should do that with alternating arms so that
You could mix it up and do alternating orange. I thought I heard somebody say bored. I don't know who it was. And you were feeling depressed? There you go. Right? So anyway, so at the end of the day, this is what we learn from the story of. You can learn all kinds of. That's what's great about the Greek myths, that you can learn whatever speaks to you. But the thing I kind of take away from it is sometimes life is like this. Sometimes life feels just like you're just repeating stuff over and over, and why am I even doing this, right? It sometimes can feel pointless and exhausting and frustrating. But we can also kind of look at the bright side, right? We can also look at it and say, well, guess what? This little exercise you guys were doing, some people literally pay to go to the gym and have people force them to do that. Okay? It's the exact same thing. So you were getting stronger by doing that, right? And look how strong this guy, look at that guy. You see the arms on that guy? All right. This guy is doing some serious workouts. Anyway, so thanks, guys. That's the story of Sisyphus. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Go ahead and bring your cushions back up. And let's sing everybody out.
Yeah, if it's not, then yeah, I think you have to
Hi, my name is Pete Busche. My pronouns are he and him. And I was thinking a lot of my South Valley story is when we first started coming about a year and a half ago, my favorite part was the South Valley story. So eventually I also have to share my own, I guess. My story starts over 10 years ago when my spouse Jess and I started attending First UU. Just for a few months, and I appreciate so much that it's acknowledged there and as well as here that sometimes the society of the church is itself a helpful transition, in addition to being a wonderful landing place and a home. The First UU was a crucial liminal phase as part of our faith transformation, and I like that transformation is a UU value. Then my story features then years of no religious community after having, I guess, grown up in the religious community of Utah. However, a change arose from two main catalysts. One was a longtime dear friend who lives in Minnesota, told me about his religious journey to now attending a progressive Episcopal church. And he talked about the community that he found there and to engage again with faith after having left the faith of our youth. I shocked my spouse Jess when I told her I was looking into churches around our house, and she responded saying, I'm okay going to church, but I don't know if I'm a Christian anymore. So we had the idea to try out South Valley. It was actually trying it out again. We attended once over 10 years ago. At that time, we were in a different place. One is that we didn't live that close, and now having kids who we wanted to also experience faith to some degree, and at least grow to learn and respect other faiths, as well as us now being okay with coming to a place that may have a pagan or a Buddhist worship or a silly hat day. The other main catalysts for coming here was honestly COVID and the people deficit that I felt. Previous to COVID, after my 40-hour work week in an office were over, I wanted to hunker down at home, cancel all social plans, and get by with just saying hi to the neighbors and hanging with my kids. That's what I thought was enough for me. That's what my shy, introverted self thought. But after the lockdowns and endlessly working from home, I recognized the need to spend time and really be present with other people. Since starting to attend South Valley about a year and a half ago, I've been able to find that community, that common purpose I was looking for, and most of all, meaning. Here I feel grounded. I can feel comforted in our minister's words of inspiration, and in the same service, feel the call to action. South Valley is somewhere I come to cry, to laugh, to think deep, to hear beautiful transcendent music on a Sunday morning, as well as rock out to a little different music on a Saturday night here and there. South Valley is somewhere to acknowledge our collective belief as well as our collective disbeliefs. In contrast to other denominations claiming absolute truths, I feel calm here in my uncertainty. South Valley for me is a place like Cheers. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and it helps that we all have name tags. Thank you for letting me share my story, and for all of you for your part in helping me create this story.
I feel like I'm just continuing right along the same theme. So this is now our offertory. This community, our church, its many ministries are only made possible by the gifts we all give of our time, our talent, and our treasure. Many of you pledge monthly to support our work. For this, we are so grateful. Your gifts help to ensure that we're able to live our values of love and justice in the world outside. Part of our ministry at South Valley includes sharing our Sunday worship offerings with a charitable organization that aligns with our principles and values. This month, our giving partner is Comunidades Unidas. So now please go ahead and read with me our offertory words. We are this church, we are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts. Now I'd like to invite Brenda and our ushers to come up and the musical number. Thank you so much, Isaac and Rick.
Thank you, Isaac and Rick. That was beautiful. For all we have received and all we have found the courage to give, may we be truly thankful. May these gifts be a blessing on South Valley and on Comunidades Unidas.
All righty. This is going to be so fun, by the way. I get to talk to you guys about something called absurdism, okay? And it's so cool. Yeah, Palmer's excited back there. This is something that I stumbled upon in kind of my faith deconstruction journey that part of me really resonates with, and I love it a lot. So it starts out with me asking you to ask yourselves, okay, what is your why? What is the thing that motivates you, that makes you go, that makes you tick? And that's just a question for you to think about, okay? And we'll come back to it at the end. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about a whale, okay? This is just a fantastic book that I'm going to be talking about for quite a bit, okay? This is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Let's go. We've got 42 up here. I'll talk about that in a second, too. I'll get there. But first, I'm going to talk about the whale. So, the first thing you need to know about this is it's not connected to the rest of the story at all, okay? This is entirely isolated. The only connection is that the main characters have a device that just causes random things to happen. They push the button, this is one of the things that happens. But it's just this wonderful little vignette. So I'm going to read the whole thing. Ready? Another thing that got forgotten was the fact that against all probability, a sperm whale had suddenly been called into existence several miles above the surface of an alien planet. And since this is not a naturally tenable position for a whale, this poor innocent creature had very little time to come to terms with its identity as a whale before it then had to come to terms with it not being a whale anymore. This is a complete record of its thought from the moment it began its life till the moment it ended it. Ah, what's happening, it thought. Excuse me, who am I? Hello? Why am I here? What's my purpose in life? What do I mean by who I am? Calm down, get a grip now. Oh, this is an interesting sensation. What is it? It's a sort of yawning, tingling sensation in well, I suppose I'd better start finding names for things if I want to make any headway in what for the sake of what I shall call an argument, I shall call the world. So let's call it my stomach. Good. Ooh, it's getting quite strong. And hey, what about this whistling, roaring sound going past what I'm suddenly going to call my head? Perhaps I can call that wind. Is that a good name? It'll do. Perhaps I can find a better name for it later when I've found out what it's for. It must be something very important because there certainly seems to be a hell of a lot of it. Hey, what's this thing? Let's call it a tail. Yeah, tail. Hey, I can really thrash it around pretty good, can't I? Wow, that feels great. Doesn't seem to achieve very much, but I'll probably find out what it's for later on. Now, have I built up any coherent picture of things yet? No. Never mind. Hey, this is really exciting. So much to find out about, so much to look forward to. I'm quite dizzy with anticipation. Or is it the wind? There really is a lot of that now, isn't there? And wow, hey, what's this thing suddenly coming towards me very fast? Very, very fast. So big and flat and round. It needs a big, wide-sounding name like round, ground. That's it. That's a good name, ground. I wonder if it will be friends with me. And the rest, after a sudden wet thud, was silence. So yeah, the whale dies. I'm sorry to tell you about that. But I love this little vignette of existence, because this is kind of like what our lives are like in a way. We're born, we're here, we wonder about things, we feel things, we do things, we don't really know what it's about, and then we die. And it's over. All too soon. Anyway. Is that your sermon? That was it. Oh, I had to remember what the next part was. Sorry. Okay, go back to my notes. I'm going to tell you another little story from a Hitchhiker's Guide here. So this is now the story of deep thought, okay? So there was once upon a time a very, very smart alien race who liked to sit around and philosophize and think about deep things. And they decided that in order to find the real answer, they needed to create the ultimate computer. So they worked super hard and built this incredibly huge, it was the most powerful, amazingly complex computer that had ever been built in the entire universe up until this point. And two of the smartest people were delegated and they said, okay, you need to go talk to this computer. So they turned on the computer and they walked up to it and they said, oh, great deep thought. Right, because that's what they named the computer. The computer's name is Deep Thought. They said, oh, great deep thought, will you tell us the answer? And of course, deep thought said, the answer to what? And they said, you know, the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And deep thought said, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, sure. But it's going to take me 7.5 million years. And they said, wow, okay, well, it's worth it. So they kept the machine running. They, of course, passed away. Their descendants kept the machine running. Their descendants kept the machine running. Many, many, many generations later, 7.5 million years passed, and it was finally time. Two people, again, had been born and designated for this one purpose, to go interface, talk to this computer once again, and finally, after all that time, find out the answer for all of us so that we could know, we could understand. They walked up to the computer and said, after 7.5 million years, Deep Thought, please tell us the answer. And Deep Thought said, I'm ready, I have an answer. And they said, oh, that's fantastic. We weren't even sure if there would be one, but tell us, what is it? And Deep Thought said, you're not going to like it. And they said, we don't care, we just need to know. And Deep Thought said, well, the answer is 42. And they were like, what are you talking about? What is 42? That doesn't make any sense. And Deep Thought said, well, you kind of gave me not a great question, didn't you? Didn't really make any sense. What is the answer to life, the universe, and everything? So Deep Thought told them, look, I know you don't like this answer, but it's because you didn't ask the right question. And they said, oh, well, great. Can you tell us the question? What was the question we should have asked? And Deep Thought said, I can't tell you. But I can help you to design a bigger, better computer that will be able to tell you the question, to which the answer is, of course, 42. And they said, okay. And so then they went about, and I'm going to cut the spoilers. I'm going to cut out a little bit here. So just to cut it short, okay, they go ahead and spend a huge amount of resources. They build a computer that is so huge and so complex, it's the size of an entire planet, and it even has living beings as part of its operational matrix. And they let it run for 10 million years. And literally 5 minutes before the end of its program, it's destroyed. And it's destroyed in the dumbest cosmic accident because somebody needed they needed to build a hyperspace bypass highway right through where that planet was, and somebody accidentally, gave the order and blew it up. And so now no one will ever know what the question was, to which the answer is 42. So there you go. That's 42, for those of you who didn't know. Okay, now, what does this mean? What is Douglas Adams? Why in the world would Douglas Adams come up with this kind of ridiculous story, right? This is the heart of absurdism, is the fact that we look for the meaning. We have within us a drive. We want to know why we're doing things and what is the ultimate purpose of all of it. But at the end of the day, the point that Douglas Adams is trying to get across to us anyway is this is a frustrating and ultimately fruitless endeavor. So when we put up the number 42, that's essentially what we're saying. It's an absurdist statement. It's saying, you know what? This was the answer you were looking for all along. What does it mean? Who knows? And who cares? Okay, now I'm going to tell you about another book, and this is a much more serious book, but it actually emphasizes really the same point. This is called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And for those who may not have heard of this, Viktor Frankl was an actual Holocaust survivor. So he went through some of the most awful, awful things that you can imagine, saw the most awful things you can imagine. Lost his wife, lost his parents in the Holocaust. And he came up, and he wrote this book afterwards, and it's one of the most profound books that anyway, I invite you to read it, but I'm going to read just one little section, and the name of the section is The Meaning of Life, right? That's what we want to know. What is the meaning of life? And his first sentence says, I doubt whether a doctor can answer this question in general terms. In other words, we can't really answer this. For the meaning of life differs from man to man. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and I might mess up as I go, but I'm going to try to generalize. He as the title suggests, man's search for meaning. It only applies to men, so you guys, for you women or others out there, sorry. No, just kidding. Obviously, he really did mean it to apply to everybody, and I'll try to change that a little bit as I read it. Anyway, for the meaning of life differs from person to person, from day to day, and from hour to hour. What matters, therefore, is not the meaning of life in general, but rather the specific meaning of a person's life at a given moment. To put the question in general terms would be comparable to the question posed to a chess champion. Tell me, master chess player, what is the best move in chess? There simply is no such thing as the best move, or even a good move, apart from a particular situation in a game and the particular personality of one's opponent. The same holds for human existence. One should not search for an abstract meaning of life. Everyone has his or her own specific vocation or mission in life to carry out, a concrete assignment which demands fulfillment. Therein he cannot be replaced, he or she cannot be replaced, nor can his or her life be repeated. Thus, everyone's task is as unique as is his or her specific opportunity to implement it. So I want you, again, to think a little bit about what meaning you have in your life. What makes you get up and do things and drives you? And I just want to say at the outset, whatever you have in your mind is different than what everyone else in the room has in their mind. We all have our own meaning, and it is for us to discover, it's for us to embrace, and it's for us to carry out. He talks a lot in this book about how suffering sometimes is the thing that the universe has called upon us to do. He went through, again, like I say, the Holocaust and suffered tremendously. Sometimes we don't have a choice, and sometimes our lives can feel a little bit like that. Obviously not the same degree as going through the Holocaust, but still, we only have so much control over our individual lives, right? We can influence and nudge our lives in one direction or another, but sometimes we just are doing the thing that we have to do. So let's talk a little bit about Sisyphus again, right? Because this is starting to sound like Sisyphus. Sometimes we just get up and do the thing that we have to do. Sisyphus wasn't given a choice, right, in his eternal punishment. I don't know how the mechanism of that works, like what was actually forcing him to go back and roll the stone up again. But it doesn't really matter. That was what he had to endure. There's a philosopher named Albert Camus, a French philosopher who's considered kind of the father of absurdism in general, and he spent a whole book talking about Sisyphus. and about what this meant to Sisyphus. And he kind of ends the book with just, imagining Sisyphus walking back down the mountain after having just failed again to put, the rock rolls down without him. As he walks back down the mountain to begin it again, there's a smile on his face. And that's kind of how he ends it. Why do you think that would be? What would be the thing that would be making him tick? It's impossible to say how Sisyphus is finding meaning. I mean, again, like I told the kids, it could just be in enjoying a good workout, right? I mean, this guy's obviously super cut, right? That could be his meaning, and he could be thinking about that every time. That felt good, gonna do it again, That could be the meaning. But whatever your meaning is, whatever motivates you, it's yours. And it might be ultimately absurd, okay? It may not make sense in the bigger picture of things. There may not be an overarching purpose for it, but it's still yours, and you can embrace it, and you can have it be genuine and meaningful to you. I think at the end of the day, absurdism is kind of like a commentary on nihilism. Nihilism would say, nothing matters. Everything's meaningless, nothing matters, why do anything at all? And I think absurdism comes right in and says, yeah, nothing matters in the ultimate picture, but why not create your own meaning? Why not create your own absurdity, joy, love, whatever, in your life, and have that be your meaning? And we can own that. And again, that's really all that matters in the end. Thank you.
So I didn't have my mic on, but I just told Tom, you're really going to make me follow that. So here we go. How many of you have built a sandcastle ever in your whole life? Ooh, pretty much everybody. How many of you still have that sandcastle? Anybody? No? So why'd you build it? Nothing lasts. And I feel like the last few times I've gotten up here, I've been talking about like death and the end of everything. So hopefully you guys still like me at the end of this. But nothing lasts, and that can be a really hard thought. There's a quote that unfortunately I thought of now, so I don't have the attribute for it. The earth is littered with the remains of civilizations that thought they were eternal. And they weren't. Our civilization is also not eternal. Our sandcastles are not eternal, and we just won't tell Sisyphus that nothing's eternal. And on that note, if you are in a more like nihilist space right now of nothing matters and nothing's eternal, so why is this important? And you need to like skip part of this conversation, it's always okay to take care of yourself and walk out. And also on this note, next Sunday after service, we are having a QPR suicide prevention training here in the sanctuary. So if you can, not if you're struggling, but if you think you can help other people who are struggling, please stick around for that. So now that we've got the serious death stuff out of the way, if nothing lasts and nothing stays and nothing's eternal, what do we do? I have a story for you. So when I was little, my grandparents had a condo on a beach, and we went all the time. And the cousins went, and we would sometimes go all together, and sometimes it was just us. And I loved to be in the water. My parents called me their mermaid because they just could not fish me back out of the waves. And the only thing that would get me back out was my dad would say, come build a sandcastle with me. And so I would. I'd come out and we'd sit right where the tide stops and we'd build a sandcastle. And you know what, honestly, I don't remember any of those sandcastles. I'm sure there's a picture somewhere. But I remember building them with my dad. And if you stop and think about it, like, why would he do that? Like, why would he teach me to build a sandcastle? I can tell you I use almost none of those skills on a daily basis. Like, that just doesn't come up in my life very often. So it's not about skills, it's not about muscles. It might have been bribing me out of the water, but goodness knows I could be back in before they could catch me, so I don't know that that worked very well. But what I still have from that is the joy. And I think my why, since we'll go back to Tom, is the joy. We have this idea that things have to stay. Like if you build a business, you have to run it and it has to be successful forever. If you start a career, you have to stick with it and get to the top of whatever ladder you're climbing forever. But forever isn't realistic for any of this. Everything fades away at some point. And that's kind of the fun part too. If things aren't going to last, we can enjoy them while they're here, and then we can move on and do something new. So when you're done building your sandcastles, maybe you're like, ooh, what if we start working with the snow? Or what if we start working with ice? Or what if we go find sticks and build something crazy out in the woods? You can change over and over and reinvent yourself over and over because nothing lasts and nothing's permanent. And isn't that freeing? Isn't that joyful that we're not stuck? We don't have to roll the stone up over and over and over again just because somebody told us we should. Because we are not Sisyphus. And whether the gods are angry at us or not, like they're gonna have to show up and tell us. And I haven't seen one yet, so we can change and we can do what we want. And maybe we keep rolling the stone up because we like it and we like the muscles we get from it and it's good exercise and the view from the top is gorgeous. But maybe we're like, kind of done with this. And we can change because we get to choose. And we can make it playful and fun and absurd to the extent that we want. And I do have to say that the absurdism, when I started preparing for this, there's bits of it that resonate, but not very much. And you know what? That's okay. So I'm sure there's some of you that are like me and you're sitting there going this is great to know and all, but why am I sitting through this? And so I want to share with you that what I mostly got out of this was that image of the sandcastle. We do it because it's fun. We do it because it's joyful. We do it because it brings us laughter and happy memories, and not because we're trying to make something permanent. Because that is an uphill climb that might not be worth it. But that moment of joy and that moment of laughter and that moment of getting the sand in your hair is what it's all about, because honestly, the only thing we know for sure is this moment. And that's it. That's all there ever is. There's this moment. And then all of a sudden we're in the next moment and it's still this moment over and over and over again. And so why not make our moments what we want them to be? And I don't know about you, but I want mine to be happy and joyful and filled with laughter. And so that is what I am choosing. And I'm going to invite you to think about that a little bit more in a little meditation. So if you can put your feet flat on the floor, and I'm going to wander down here with you. Get comfy. If you feel safe closing your eyes, feel free to do so. Feel the chair underneath you. Feel your feet on the floor. Take a deep breath all the way in and let it out as slow as you can. Imagine for just a moment that you are standing in a backyard, any backyard you like, or maybe at a park. There's green grass everywhere, happy trees, the sun is out, the birds are singing, and you see in front of you a child's sandbox. And it just looks so inviting And you walk over and you slip your shoes off and you put your toes in the sand. And the beautiful thing about sandboxes is you can do anything with them. So I'm going to invite you to take a minute now and use the sand in your sandbox to make the life you want. You can draw pictures in it. You can build castles in it. You can shape it however you want. You can just dig a giant hole as deep as you wish. But you get to play and make your life the way you choose. So enjoy your sandbox here for a minute. While you're playing in your sandbox, I want you to notice that life is like a sandbox, and we use that metaphor for a lot of things, especially like tech things. You do things in a sandbox first before you roll them out. This is your little safe space. Try things out here before you roll them out into your life. And since this is your sandbox in your mind, you get to keep it. And you can go play in it whenever you wish. So even though I'm going to call you back, don't lose your sandbox. Take a deep breath in. Let it all the way out. Wiggle your fingers. Bring movement back into your toes. If you feel like you need to stretch, go ahead and stretch. And when you are ready, open your eyes. And I think I will leave that there. We have one more hymn, I believe. Number 108. Stand if you're willing and able. For the extinguishing of the chalice. If you would join me in saying our words and doing our actions. We extinguish the chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of action. We You may be seated. The benediction I have for you today is, may your life be full of joy and completely and utterly absurd. Please remain sitting for the postlude.